There's that intro that we love so much. We're gonna pull Josh into the chat here in just a second. There we
What's
go.
up?
How's it going?
Doing
So
good.
guys, welcome to the show. This is Josh Pladies from Clutch Swimbait Company, and we are excited to get into a glide bait episode. I posted a glide bait video this morning that said, for those or in a world full of urchins, throw a glide bait, and it actually did pretty well.
Yeah,
So,
did really well. Yeah.
but then a lot of people commenting, talking about glides, and just had glides on the brain today, and I was like, what's a better opportunity than to bring the man in to talk about some glide baits and whatever the chat brings along for us. So Josh, it's first time on the show. Tell us a little
Yep.
bit about yourself and kind of what got you into this whole fishing game.
Yeah. So I mean, I've always kind of grew up fishing. When probably late college, I got really into bass fishing and thought I was going to do the tournament side. And for whatever reason, tournament fishing was one of those really weird things for me that the harder I tried, the worse I did. And did not. It sometimes happens. Sometimes you just spin
Yeah,
your wheels. You
I
try
feel that.
really, really hard. You try
Yeah.
to learn everything you can, and it just doesn't work. But that was me. And then just started getting really into throwing glide baits. And just started kind
So
of
like what
messing with
time
them in
frame is this? Like getting into throwing glide baits? Like give us like a year.
2018, 2019,
Okay.
probably somewhere in there. Uh,
Gotcha.
really got into throwing that stuff, and then just kind of started messing with it. Started working on them, then started building them, and a lot of time later, or I guess a year after I started selling baits, took Clutch full time, and it kind of just ramped up from there. Now I've got a whole team, both building baits, marketing baits, and selling baits. So it's grown like crazy, and I've been very, very fortunate for sure.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So what was it about glide baits? Why aren't you making jigs and fish head spins and all that stuff? What was it about glide baits that like got you
So
going?
the the big thing about glide baits was like, so I grew up and learned to fish in Kansas, and Kansas is known for being like the Ned rig place, like the place
Yeah.
where like Ned Katie like was in Topeka where I was at, and everyone in the whole area was obsessed with the Ned rig. Like everyone was just throwing little 3-inch soft plastics, and I wanted to be different, and I saw the big baits and thought they just looked like super super cool. So I went that route with it.
Nice. Sorry, I didn't mean to blow you up on the big
Oh,
screen
you're good.
there. Sorry guys, I'm a little rusty behind the controls. Danny's actually he texted me early this morning and he's like, dude, I gotta go to the ER. He's like, I ain't good. Long story short, I'll air it out on here. He's got a bladder infection, poor guy. It's like that's rough.
Good
So
luck. Good luck with
so
that.
he is probably sleeping right now. He's trying to deal with that. So y'all be
He'll watch
thinking
the
about
replay.
Danny. Yeah, he'll catch the replay, I'm sure. Um that's awesome, man. Let me get into everybody before I lose them in the chat. Just say, hey, what's up? What's up, Eddie Hudson out there? Clayton Belmont. What's up to you, old Tom? He's always known for some spoken word poetry in the chat. So excited to see what's going on there tonight. John G, what's up, man? Good to see you. He said Clutch Eco. That is a nasty little bait. We'll talk about some
Nasty little
more.
bait.
Jeff Brazil, our Pickwick glide bait guy, he's always got glides on the brain. I told him this one was for him, so he's. I'm glad to see him out there in the chat. Doc Holiday, good evening. Good to see you in the chat out there. And then Jeff said, I usually have a boss on deck too. And then Dustin Black as well. Good evening, everybody. So now that we're caught up there, so you're getting into glides. You're like, okay, this is cool. Where does it go from this is cool to like this could be a business?
A lot of time. It boiled down to the frustration of not being able to get the baits I wanted. The glide bait market's kind of calmed down a little bit since then. So they're more readily available, but like I couldn't get it, so I started building them and started figuring out what I liked in a bait, what I didn't like in a bait, and kind of ran from there.
Gotcha. So like, what does that look like? Walk us through it a little bit. Like, what were some of the things you didn't like about the early glides in 2017, 2018?
They seem to be a lot more like one-trick ponies. They're not as versatile as they are today, I'd say. I mean, every once in a while you'd find one back then that could be like a little bit more versatile, but like it was back in like when the Roman made Mother and Negotiator, those were really popular, and it's just a nice, slow, steady reel. And if you get too crazy with it, you can't like get too excited and
they have like one speed, kind of like how a mag draft has one speed. Like there was like one way to work a glide.
Yeah, or on the other end of the spectrum, there was some choppy baits, and they just chopped. Like they couldn't do anything else. They just sit there and just walk on themselves. And
Gotcha. So when you're going through that evolution and like figuring out, like finding these different baits for like the different placeholders, right? Like you're trying to fill this gap of a large glide. You're trying to fill this gap of like an obtainable glide for like a bigger audience of people that can throw it on a jig rod or whatever. And so like, how did you branch it? Were you stuck with just the OG, which was the beginning model for a while, or like how, did you start experimenting before things went to market, or how was that process?
Yeah, I mean, it seems like as time goes on, our prototyping process gets way more in depth. I can't remember who I was telling the other day, but I was like, we were kind of talking the story about how Clutch has grown, and I said something to the effect of like, man, I look back on those early days at Clutch, and I don't feel like we should have been selling baits. Like in retrospect, like they weren't great, and but it opened the door and allowed me to kind of dive all the way into it and really look into that stuff and like really start researching, really start like figuring out what makes a bait do what, and it just allowed me to get way better with it. So I mean, yeah, I mean, do I feel like to the customer I should have been selling baits that early? No. In the long run, I wouldn't change anything just because it allowed us to get to where we are today. So I know that sounds kind of weird, but that's
I mean, it's like anything. Like you have to start somewhere. You have to start documenting. I was listening to Hormozy and Chris Williamson this morning. I sent you the link to that one, but they were talking about document the process always. They were talking about how they wish they documented the times of sleeping on the gym floor and doing this before they built their business, and wish they at least documented it. It's like worst case, you delete it. It goes nowhere. You don't have to post it everywhere, but like document the beginning of something. Like if you're working on something, if it's the first time you've ever gone on a run and you just ran 1.5 miles, take a picture of yourself in the mirror, because you never know where you could go. If it's you just made a glide bait out of a 2x4 and you're like, it looks all right, it kind of looks like a fish. Like you got to start somewhere.
Yeah, which actually I do have in like 2 minutes I could grab it. The very first stuff that I ever made in terms of like glide bait. So like I may not have like taken a lot of pictures and stuff back then, but I kept everything. So like I've got my very first glide bait I made. I've got the original like carvings of the OG, like all that stuff still. So I've always said in like 5 years I'm gonna do like a bunch of shadow boxes and stuff. And I guess our 5 years coming up here in October. So
that's exciting.
Get that done. Yeah,
it's about time.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, go grab them.
Yeah, I'll be right back.
Yep, I'll check in on the comments. All right, guys, how is everybody doing? Let's see what's going on in the chat. Thank y'all for tuning in. I know it's Tuesday night. We got a lot of stuff going on. We moved out of the house, and now we're moved into the little apartment. Moved in with a girlfriend. Life is good. Moved out of the house completely, so got everything in storage, and life is good, boys and girls. Always got a box for us.
Yeah, one of like 4 boxes.
Nice.
Let's see. That one. Just grabbing a bunch of stuff out of here.
Yeah, you're good. The man, the myth, the legend. Pulling out all the old artifacts.
Yeah.
Where it began.
Try to find the original OG real quick. Oh, that's not it. It's in here somewhere.
So talk to me about some of those early baits that you're sifting through right now. Talk to me.
Yeah. It's like this is the first glide bait I ever made. Looks
That's
real
cool.
rough, but like I mean, I actually caught a fish on it, which was cool. But yeah, originally hand carved.
That is cool.
Out of a block of wood, like made my own hook hangers and stuff. Like
that's awesome.
Yeah, crazy. Not symmetrical at all, but like you got to start somewhere. Like you can
it
see
honestly looks pretty good. You know, like
yeah. Well, I did woodworking like back in the day, like in high school and stuff. So I wasn't starting from just nowhere. Let's see. This was a bait that was like this was one of the very first baits I made.
Dang.
Wham. Horrible. But I think that's the first resin bait I ever made.
Nice. So what's the difference between carving one out of wood and making one out of resin?
So resin started with this one started with I believe some wood. It was either wood or there was like a carving foam or something like that. And just kind of started carving it and then made like silicone molds around it.
Gotcha. Okay.
And I know I'm doing a great job keeping my head in the frame here.
But yeah, it's a great elbow shot. Yeah. Looks like you've been toning your forearms.
A little bit, yeah.
That's good.
But anyway, we can find some of that other stuff later. But I mean, this was the original like 3D print for the Boss. It was gigantic. Like I was trying to do a joke, and like was on the computer, like just trying to draw this big gizzard shad in CAD. Threw it on the 3D printer. Woke up the next morning, and this was on the 3D printer. So my proportions were a little bit wrong. But then I mean, refined it in pretty quick, and that's one of the. I think that's the very first Boss 3D master around like that we actually made baits from and caught fish well on it. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I like it. A blast from the past.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, we've got it'll probably be one of those things that come October somewhere. We'll do like a whole sit down thing and kind of like talk over the history of it and everything and show pictures of baits and
yeah, that'd be cool. You have to let us know and I'll send the guys that way. Yeah. All right, we get some questions coming in. What's your favorite glide and the setup that you throw that for that glide?
My favorite glide is the Clutch Boss rod, the Alpha Angler Honcho. It's a little Clutch collab rod that is the perfect rod for that 4 to 6 ounce glide baits. Clint can tell you more about that. It's a crazy rod. Excuse me.
Got one right here. That's a sneaky bait.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the Alpha Angler Honcho. It's such a sweet rod. Just hit the sealant fan with it.
Yeah.
It's stout.
It's crazy how well that rod handles the Boss. Like
it handles it so well.
Yeah, you can cast a Boss 120 foot and put it on a dot. Like it's just it's crazy.
I have some videos on my page too of just sliding that thing into some dock slips, catching some 4 and 5 pound spots, catching them over 50 foot of water on it, catching them up in the stuff, like out of docks, logs, like everything. Like it is such a versatile glide rod. You can literally catch them just about anywhere on it. And Brandon's boat flipped. You've boat flipped an 8.5 something pounder on it.
The 2 biggest I've boat flipped on that rod is an 8.13 and then a 9.14.
Oh yeah, your new PV was on that rod.
My PV was on that rod and it got air miles.
That's sick. Yeah, that thing did fly.
Crazy.
Yeah. So it's a stout rod, and you're gonna pay for it. It's the lightest glide bait rod out there, but also the strongest in my opinion. And being able to be accurate, like if you are serious about glide bait fishing, that's the rod. So if you weren't gonna throw the Honcho, let's say you're getting into it beginner, like what are some good beginner rods? Like We love Jake over at Alpha Angler wearing a
Yep.
hat right now. I'm actually even wearing a shirt. I told
I
Carrie to
didn't put
bring
on
me
my
a
shirt and hat.
yeah. I told Carrie, I was like, hey, bring me a hat while I was getting this set up because it was running late, and so
Yeah.
we were double alpha'd up. But if you're not throwing an Alpha Angler rod, what are some like beginner rods that would be good to throw your standard 7 to 9 inch glides
Yeah.
on type of deal?
So
So like
on
your
the lighter
Eco,
side, I'd probably say a Dobbins Fury 806 SB is a really good starter rod. I don't know what they've changed the price to since then. It used to be $100 rod. I think now it's somewhere between 120 to 150, somewhere in there.
which is super cheap for a glide rod,
for a
honestly.
glide rod. I mean, it could be more than that by now. It is their kind of Fury series, so it's their base level rod, but it's a really good beginner rod. For heavier baits, I threw this rod for a while and actually really liked it. Now it's for heavier baits, but the Daiwa Tatula Elite Ishmanro heavy swim bait rod, that it's like an 8-foot rod. Do not throw light swim baits on it. You will rip hooks out bad.
Yeah.
But it can handle cast and do what you need it to do on big baits.
Yeah, and it's only a $200 rod, which is still not that bad. Like when you're throwing $200 baits and your rod's $200, like it's not that crazy. And like gliding is expensive, but then like recently, so like our caption is glide bait fishing dead. Like everybody's posting about an urchin, right?
Yeah.
And so people are paying $100, $150, $200 for an urchin style bait these days just to get the name brand hide ups or whatever. And it's like that's what people have been buying glides for years and years and years. So it's like all about the draw power, getting that, having the versatility of a glide bait. And I feel like both baits, there's obviously still a scenario for both, and both of them play. Like, what's it been like seeing this whole urchin craze lately?
It's definitely unlike anything I think the swim bait world, or not swim bait world. Of course, it's something the swim bait world hadn't seen, but like just bass fishing in general. Like, there's been some really hot trends that have come throughout fishing, but I mean, truth be told, like the urchins like outcompeted live scope lately. Like, even in non-live scope situations, that thing is still dominating. And I mean, for good reason, they bite the crap out of it. But over time, as the new factor kind of wears down, as fish start to see more and more, we're definitely going to get back to more of the it's a tool to use. It's not a one size fits all, like you use this everywhere all the time, kind of like what it is becoming right now. That's my opinion on it. So I think you'll still be throwing the glide baits, you'll still be throwing the jigs, you'll still be throwing jerk baits, like K-rigs, all that stuff. Like it'll figure its way into a tool. It's just right now, like there's such a virality factor behind what it is because it's literally like looks like a cat toy.
It looks
and
crazy.
It catches bass like crazy. Like, yeah, that thing's gonna go crazy for a while just because there's so many like parts of it that people are just freaking out about. So,
and it's like everybody freaked out about the Sakamata shad, but not as much because it wasn't that much different than a regular minnow fluke style bait. Like it is a minnow with wings.
Yeah,
like it wasn't
more
that
believable
shock factor to look at.
It's more believable that went crazy because it's like, oh yeah, we've been throwing flukes forever, and then all of a sudden you're like, man, you put one with wings on it that catches them better. Heck yeah! And now everyone's like, oh yeah, this thing that literally looks like it's from outer space is catching.
It truly does. It looks like I blow that out of my nose or something. It looks wild.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, it's obviously proven to be effective. It's proven to have drawing power. Which is crazy to see a bait made out of TP or plastisol or whatever. They get made out of everything, but to have a bait like that have drawing power, whereas normally like with glides and stuff, we see the drawing power because obviously it moves a lot of water, the big profile, all that stuff. So like it's interesting to see the contrast of like something with a bit smaller of a presentation can still move a large amount of water.
Yeah, and I think a lot of it comes down to that moving the water part, like what you're talking about. Like when you pull an urchin bait through the water, like near the surface, you see how much water is like getting moved, and I think that's a really big factor as to why it's so powerful. And same thing's true with the glide though too. Like when you're throwing it out there and it's near the surface, you can see physically how much water that thing's moving. And I think that's part of the reason why the Boss has been so successful is like when that thing kicks and turns, that side is so flat that it pushes so much water that those fish are feeling it, and it just it does.
It feels
something.
so real. It feels like a tail kick. I feel like is what
Yep.
that almost like, because I feel like all the water pressure is coming from that front side of the bait, from the head and the body of the bait.
Yeah.
But in a real life with a real gizzard, it's all coming from the power from the tail, but that head is able to mimic the same amount of water displacement.
Yeah.
It seems like if I had to guess, I don't know. Obviously,
Yeah.
I'm not a bass or a gizzard shad, but just looking at how it works in the water. So like talk about like, so some of these guys are going to go buy a glide
Mhm.
and they're going to go out, they're going to throw it for 20 casts or 25 casts, and they're going to be like, I didn't catch anything on it, I didn't get any followers. Like, what would you tell that guy that's like, oh, I just bought this big expensive glide bait and I didn't catch anything on it, like it's all a bunch of crap? Like, what would you tell that guy?
It's a tool, and you got to learn how to use it. There's a lot of, if you think back to like you learning how to fish different like baits, like we've all been there where it's like, okay, I've never caught, like there's a point in time where you'd never caught one on a jig. There's a point in time where you never caught one on a deep crankbait. There's a point in time you never caught one on a topwater. And for the longest time while you were fishing that, unless you had a buddy that was like on it up front, you're like, man, what am I doing? Like you're watching videos, you're watching all this stuff, trying to learn how to do it. And you're always second guessing yourself until that one moment where you're like, oh, I got that fish to react right there. Like that was cool. And then there's like the snowball starts rolling down the hill, it gets bigger and bigger, and it just kind of gets to the point where you're getting a lot of confidence in it. So for the guy that thinks that it's no big deal, there's not a lot of fish getting caught on it, or just it's a waste of time, it's like, man, the thing with a glide is you can get that fish to react in a way that really no other bait can. You're making them get defensive over it. Like everyone thinks that it's either a reaction strike or a hunger strike. And a lot of the, like, I truly feel like, especially fishing at shallow, there's a lot of those bites that fish is pissed off that that thing is in its area and it wants to defend its territory from whatever that sick little fish is doing around my dock. If that makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And I feel like just making that fish react, making them like putting it in front of their face, and like also giving it the time that you need.
Yeah.
Jeff Brazil just said, leave all your other stuff at home and learn how to use it. That's the advice I
Yeah.
got many, like I was like that a lot. And I learned in Western North Carolina, which had a lot of trout, a lot of gizzard shad, a lot of that type of stuff, herring type fisheries. So that helped being around fish that tend to eat a larger size bait. But if you're on a Sabine River, it's probably not the best place to learn how to throw a glide. You know, so definitely like take into account like the forage on your bait on your lake and all that stuff, and make sure that you're just giving it the time, and make sure you're not throwing it on the wrong setup or too big of a rod or too small of a rod. Make sure you can cast it properly.
Set yourself up for success for sure.
Yeah. So kind of give me like, if you had 3 glide rods on the deck, give me one for like an eco, a darter or baby boss type of setup, and then a boss, so your bigger ones. Like, talk me through like rod, reel, line, like kind of what your setups are for like, and tell me like what those baits are, because these guys might not know kind of what they are, and if you have any laying around.
That would have been a great idea.
Sorry.
It's all good. So we'll start on the smaller end of the spectrum. Either a Clutch Eco or Clutch Micro Boss. They're both smaller baits. The Micro Boss weighs 1.25 ounces, and the Eco weighs 1.5 ounces. They both have different situation, like fishing situations, but for the beginner swim bait fisherman, start somewhere in there. If you're fishing over grass and someplace you want to keep the bait a little bit higher, fish the Eco. If you're wanting to get it down just a little bit, fish the Micro Boss. In terms of setup for it, I would go with I throw them honestly on either my chatterbait rod or my deep crank rod. because at that point, that bait's so small that it's almost a big square bill or a big crankbait at that point.
Gotcha.
The hooks on them are size 2, like size 2 short shanks. So like you don't have a lot of, you're able to rip that hook out of fish really easy. Like if
you don't have a whole lot of leverage on them.
No.
Like you kind of got to play them like a crankbait fish.
Yeah, but the positive is that bait is so light that the coming up and jumping thing isn't as big of a deal as the heavier baits. Like when they got those heavier baits coming up and jumping and throwing that bait is a lot easier for that fish to do. On a lighter bait, you've kind of got it. I mean, they still can do it, but it's not as big of an issue. In terms of reel, I throw a Daiwa Tatula 100 to 150, whatever you got. That's size of the reel, and speed would be a 7-1. Keep it simple. Literally throw it on what you throw a chatterbait or a deep crankbait on. That gets your foot in the door. I have been a little bit lately on the eco side of stuff. I know it's only a 1/4 ounce more than a micro boss, but I have been throwing that more on the Alpha Angler wide glide. It just kind of, the wide glide's a great smaller glide bait rod, perfect for that kind of 1.5 to 1.75 ounces, all the way up to like 3 ounces. So a little bit smaller glide baits. Which I also use that with the Baby Boss, which would be the next one that's on my desk, or on my deck, not desk.
Yeah.
You know what I mean.
It might be on your desk right
I've worked
now.
all day. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I would go with the Baby Boss, and generally it's a bone color Baby Boss. Seems like bare bone is just the best color.
Talk to me
most bites. Yeah.
Real quick. I had never seen this done before, and apparently it's been around. The bone sitting out in the sun. Talk to me about that.
So bare resin is going to kind of be like just a whitish color, like a bone white, like off white, I guess. That's going to be the natural color of resin. Now, when resin gets exposed to UV radiation and heat, the resin turns like a yellowish color. Like it gets darker and darker the more exposure it has. And myself included, and there's a lot of other guys that will not throw a bone bait until it is that deep yellow like color. So how to achieve it? Just put it outside under the summer heat, leave it outside for a couple days, flip it over, do it to the other side, and it gets nice and yellow. And it does it really matter? Probably not. But in my mind, I feel like it's gotten me a couple more bites. So that's what's important.
It seems like it glows a little more when it's yellow like that in the water. I feel like it just
a little bit.
It's almost like a glow in the dark white type of deal.
Yeah. Yeah.
But all right, so I interrupted you there. So
you're good.
Back to the Baby Boss size. You said you like a bone, so that's like your medium size 7-inch glide.
Yep.
So
Alpha Angler wide glide. That I will jump up to a Daiwa Tatula 200 and 7-3 to 1. It seems like it's a great workhorse rod reel kind of combo. And then my big setup would be a full size Boss, 9 3/4 inch bait, 4 ounces. Throwing it on the Alpha Angler Honcho, which is just like we talked about already, a great big glide bait rod. And then Daiwa Tatula 300 and 7-1 gear ratio. Reason I like 7-1 pretty much across the board is it just seems to be the perfect blend of speed and power. Like reels are so good nowadays. Like the reason why you'd always hear go with like a 6-to-1 gear ratio back in the day was because you're throwing something with a really big round reel to it and you needed a lot of power. And nowadays reels have a lot of power in a smaller package. So you can get the power that you need to out of a 7-to-1 gear ratio, but you just like, especially modern day glide baits that can get a little bit more aggressive, you want that added speed element to it to really help convert like followers into biters. So yeah, that's kind of why I choose 7-to-1 gear ratio.
Awesome. All right, so you had the Clutch Eco, you had the Baby Boss, and you had the Boss, which is the big regular size Boss. What pound line are you throwing all those on?
20 pound. Mono if I'm fishing shallower, floor if I'm fishing deeper.
Okay, awesome.
Main reason why is the main reason I maintain throwing mono is because I don't have to retie as often. Especially while throwing a heavy bait like a Boss. You'll kind of notice, like if you go and like cast one off at one point, there's a really good chance that there's about that much line hanging on the end of that bait. And
Guilty.
the reason why is like that eye, while that eye is really good, you may not have a nick in it. All that pressure loading up on that line on that one little area that's in constant contact with the tip, because there's only about that much space there that's actually in contact with the tip. So like it's just that little area getting worn out over and over and over again with a really high pressure, and it kind of wears, like fluorocarbon will wear out faster at that location. So mono seems to not be as bad. Still retie a lot, but you just don't have to as much with mono.
Typical day of glide bait fishing, how often are you retying?
If I'm just glide bait fishing on,
let's say you're throwing a boss all day, big heavy bait, big heavy rod,
on fluoro, every 45 minutes to an hour, somewhere in there. Yeah, I mean, it, honestly, like the big thing, the big point that I look for is when I'm reeling that thing up in the rod, and I feel it get a little crunchy right around that rod tip. Like right when I get to that kind of point, you'll almost like feel it. Like if you got a sensitive enough of a rod, you'll feel it. Like you'll feel your line's weakness right there when you're reeling it up, which is another reason to buy a honcho. Like they're that sensitive. It's like true. I can literally feel my line going bad during me working it, and I can be like, okay, I need to retie.
Yeah. That's awesome. That's awesome. All right, we got some more comments out here. Let's see. Josh, do you ever use any other builders' baits? I know a couple well-known builders that do. No need to mention any names if you don't want to.
I used to. I don't anymore.
Talk about that switch, because I think it's pretty cool.
The switch between when I did and
basically
when I did.
Like you used to use other people's, and then you started baking some that were.
I've gotten better and better as a bait builder, where I can. Oh, sorry, my phone's ringing. I can build. At this point, I can build a bait to do whatever I want it to do. And at that point, like I still buy a lot of baits, but nothing really surprises me anymore. I know that sounds arrogant and cocky, but like I see a bait do something in the water, and I'm more apt to find an issue with its design from my perspective than I will be like, oh, this is an actual practical use. Does that make sense?
Yeah, for sure.
Like it's just I'm very critical of the work we put out, and it kind of drags into others. Like I can look at it and be like, oh, you don't have near the weight in the tail that you need to here. It doesn't have the drag, or it's got too much drag. Like this is hurting it. This is hurting it. This is hurting it. And like I still see that. So that's kind of why.
Gotcha. I like it. All right, we got some love out there in the comments from Ryan Hanks. Big shout out to Josh.
Ryan?
Love his passion for glide bait fishing. It's very evident in the company he's created. Keep up the good work.
Appreciate it.
Ryan's good people. It's good to see. But it's cool to see business owners in this industry, and we all got to hang out this year at the East Tennessee Fishing Show, and just like being able to like be like, hey, this is working and this is working, and being able to collaborate and talk and all that type of stuff in this industry. Like we're all so tight knit connected in this industry, and it's awesome when we can work together and talk about what's working, what's not, talk about social media, marketing, Facebook ads, all the things under the sun. It's cool.
I don't know about you, but I wish I had a recording of that dinner. Because there was so much depth and so much like just real business conversation happening, whereas like because there was all these different perspectives on it, and everyone was better at slightly different areas of business, and it was cool just to kind of like talk back and forth and really see all that come out. It was really, really cool dinner.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome. All right. Let's see. Jeff said, once it clicks and you catch some, look out. It's so addictive. It's pretty much all I do now.
Yep.
That's the truth. I think I always have a glide on the deck. I fished a tournament on Fontana, which has very small spotted bass up in Western North Carolina. And I was like, if I just keep throwing the glide, I'm gonna catch them. And I was catching them. I caught like 12 to 15 fish a day, but my biggest fish I caught was a 213, like 2 pounds 13 ounces, and I'm like, come on, like a big one's gonna bite. Never happened. So it can burn you sometimes too. All right, we got a question from Blunt 6415. Hell yeah, brother. Do you start out with basic slow reel back with a chop or two thrown in, or chop all the way back to the boat?
It's it's neither, but also yes at the same time. Um,
Yeah.
it's I feel like when I'm starting out and I'm fishing shallower, it's just such a varying retrieve. Like I'm doing a little bit of everything in a cast. Like I'm doing some slower stuff. I'm doing a little bit more aggressive stuff. Like I'm pretending like a fish is seeing that bait at all times, and I'm just trying to I'm trying to figure out the activity level of the fish. So like if they bit it during a really active section of the cast, I will try to lean into that harder. If they bit it during a particularly slower part, I'll start working the bait a little bit slower and still kind of have a little bit of excitement in there just to convert a fish if he's following. Um, but that's kind of how I start with like just no scope fishing the bank.
Gotcha. I like it. And that's the thing too, is you have to figure out what the fish want. You have to
Yep.
figure out, like, try it all. Like when I talk about throwing the cast OG as a top water, like I do different retrieves on almost every cast with that thing until I figure out what they want.
Yeah.
We always called it the glide bait of top water. So glide baits are obviously very similar in that you have to vary the retrieve, try some different things, figure out what works. And then it changes throughout the day. You can have the clouds pop out and they're a little more active. You can have the sun pop out, they're a little less active, or they can see it better, so move it faster. There's
Yep.
so many different things. Paint me a picture of like what is the perfect glide bait day in the summertime. So right
Oh,
now we're in the dog days of summertime. When are you going out to go throw a glide bait if you had to
uh,
choose?
I would say there's got to be current, some sort of current, fishing offshore with it, or first thing in the morning, kind of like running primary points or seawalls type situation, something where those fish are kind of pulled up. But I mean, in the summertime, yeah, give me current, give me fish schooled up deep, and it's gonna be a fun day. Well, hopefully.
Nice.
It's
I
still
like
glide
it.
bait fishing. There's still a chance that they
Yeah.
don't want it. But yeah, typically this time of year they do kind of get, or we're kind of getting out of it a little bit now, but they do kind of key in on those bigger gizzard shad and those bigger meals, and throwing a glide in there is a surefire way to get the biggest fish in the school to get feisty on it.
For sure. So when you're fishing for those big schools and you're trying to convert that bass, you've got them following, they're getting closer, they're moving with the bait. There's guys that convert bites better than others.
Yep.
What are some tips that you have to convert those bites? Those guys that are going out and they're getting 20 or 25 followers a day and only catching one or two glides. How can they
Yeah.
catch, or one or two fish on a glide? How can they catch more fish?
Yeah. This time of year in particular, speed kills. Like just you need a lot of speed and then a very, very well timed pause. And the only way to get that feeling is to do it a lot. There's definitely people on this chat that are better than me at that. But yeah, just once you get their attention, pop, 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 pause, and that's usually when they hit it.
There might be
Not a
somebody
long
in the
pause.
chat that's not Justin Kimball's in the chat.
Oh yeah,
I'm just kidding, Kimball. He said any stories around the shop recently.
there is. I don't know how much we can get into it, but we had a very, very very VIP customer recently.
Nice. Is it?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
I guess you can't
Can I
talk about
say
it.
that? Like,
I mean,
how many people
I
are
don't.
alive?
19. You're fine.
Okay. Yeah. I was on my way back from the Copper State Tackle open house, like walking through the airport, and a sale popped up on my phone. Usually when someone buys a bait, it pops up on the phone. And I looked down and it said Donald Trump Jr. And I was
Insane.
like, someone's got to be messing with me. And like, he followed us on Instagram and sent a DM. Like it was actually him. So yeah, we've sold a couple baits to Donald Trump Jr. And
that's pretty wild.
Yeah, he's using them to target snook down in Florida. So that was,
Of all things,
that was pretty cool.
So nuts.
Oh yeah, yeah.
That's
Yeah,
so nuts. He's gonna get his arm ripped off.
I hope so. That'd be cool. That'd be great.
Yeah, is he about it? Does he fit? Like I don't even know.
I know he's actually like, big time outdoorsman. I know he's done some fishing stuff in the past, but yeah.
Yeah. That is
Yeah,
wild to see
big
that come
outdoorsman.
across. Like in
Oh yeah,
politics
yeah,
aside, like it's still a big name by any
yeah.
means.
I don't
Like,
care whether you love him or hate him, but
yeah,
it's still
still
kind
a
of cool.
big name.
And
It could
I
be like
drop,
if Kanye bought your baits, it'd be like love him or hate him. It's still pretty cool, you know.
yeah, I dropped the box off at the post office this morning, and the lady like that scanned it, she looked at it, and like she looked like she saw a ghost, just like no.
I bet.
It's like
I bet.
yeah,
That is wild. Like
yeah,
to think about, and that's the thing. Like you got like Steve Harvey getting into bass fishing. You
yeah,
got these other big names, like a bunch of football players that I have no idea who they are because I don't keep up
yeah,
with it at all. But they're still giant names with huge followings. Like it's pretty crazy to see them get into the sport of fishing, and then what that means for our industry. Like I know back 6 or 8 months ago, we were talking to Polinick, and he was about to. It didn't work out, but he was
yeah.
about to line up to where they were at the same camp as Rogan and Cam Haines.
I
Like,
remember, I remember him talking about that. Yeah,
yeah. So it's like if we could just make that connection, put Paul and Nick on Rogan, like
yeah,
imagine the exposure for bass fishing. Now it's going to be really hard to find baits after
yeah,
that podcast, and there's boat sales are going to be through the roof. So Yamaha will be happy,
yeah,
but I mean, it's just crazy to think of like how small our industry still is to the world, and like all the world knows about fishing is a walleye scandal and uh what else, whatever else went public, right?
yeah, yeah. Exactly. It's
So
always
it's
the
like
bad.
when you have that ability to dive into something that's bigger than our industry like that through just something small, like through somebody like that, like it's a pretty cool opportunity. So who knows? We'll
Yeah,
see. And hopefully he's tagging you in some posts with a big old snook, and that'd be
I
cool.
wouldn't complain. That'd be really, really cool.
That'd be pretty cool.
Yeah.
It'd be pretty cool. All right. Jeff Brazil, summertime, sunny and hot conditions. I target shade lines and floating docks. That works for me on my lake.
I forget where this is a Georgia program. Yeah, there's.
Yep.
When I was thinking glide offshore with current, I was thinking like TVA or like Lake of the Ozarks get some of that stuff too.
So that we still have access to a lot of that too around here. Like we're pretty close to Chickamauga, Pickwick.
Okay.
So that type of stuff. And Jeff's actually out there on Pickwick. But I mean, then we have like Western North Carolina and North Georgia where you can go hit those shade lines. I mean, me and you have fished around some of those lakes and been able to be successful with some glides up there. But then also, I mean, these herring fisheries, like they will set up on a brush pile and eat a glide bait. I mean,
Yeah.
I've been able to make that happen too, and it's been pretty cool to be able to target those fish that you would target with a Sebile or a fluke or a riser bait, and be able to trigger that biggest fish in the school. Like, how do you go from fishing traditional tackle to fishing a glide? Like, if you're in more of a tournament scenario, like how are you choosing between both?
I mean, the glide I always keep honest. It's like it's at the end of the day, it's still a big bait, and it's not always that they're eating it. But I will sample it because if they are eating it, you don't want to miss it because you've got the chance to do something really, really cool. So yeah, typically like tournament wise, I'm using it as my instance to get lucky throughout the day. Like I'm trying to fish something else, but there's a nice little point right there. I'll roll over it, cast glide bait across a couple times, see if I can catch like a 5-6 pounder. That's kind of how I look at it. Unless I in a multi-day tournament do really, really bad the day before, in which case I'm going to try to force it. And it's crazy how many times when I try to do that, I end up with 5.
Yeah.
It just seems to work out. But yeah, that's kind of how I look at it.
I like it. And so you've been able to fish the open some this year too.
Yeah.
Talk to me about that a little bit. Like what made you want to jump out and go fish some opens and just see what happens? Like what's the game plan there?
Because I work a lot and it's my opportunity to escape from work for a week and spend time on the water staying fishy. The more fishy I stay, the better baits I'm going to design. So that's kind of the why. Yeah, I mean, other than that, like I don't fish enough to be competitive with it. So it's kind of it's led to a lot of lackluster results. But yeah, if
You had
if I was to
pretty
truly
decent
try, I
little
think
lacrosse.
I could do well, but It's just I don't have the time to be good.
You're still doing pretty good. You had you good lacrosse too.
Yeah, had a good lacrosse, and then I mean I still missed the EQs by like a lot, but I mean Kentucky Lake kind of killed me there. But you can't weigh in one fish on one day.
It's tough. It's
Yeah.
tough. And that's the thing is like one bad day in the opens and your season's over.
Yeah.
You really can't have it anymore. I mean, I guess with the EQs, but those guys are so good, man. Like you still can barely get away with one bad day.
Yep.
It's tough. And
Yeah.
let alone a bad tournament,
Yeah.
because you have one bad day and you go catch 15, 16 pounds the next day, it might jump you up.
Yeah.
But if it's not jumping you all the way up to check range, then it's not helping you a whole lot,
Yeah.
Excuse me. Sorry.
It's all good.
But yeah, so I mean, hey, you're it's giving you an excuse to fish. You're not doing that bad. Yeah, I mean, it's a good way to like set something on the calendar and be like, hey, this month I've got this, instead of just trying to fish every other weekend or little jackpot tournaments or whatever. Like you're still able to travel around and also fish different fisheries. I feel
Yeah.
like what happens with bait makers is they end up in their region and they only make baits for their region. And so like I
Yeah.
know that you're able to travel around a good bit, not just through the opens, but I feel like you make efforts to go to Mexico. You make efforts to go down to Texas. You've come over here to Georgia and some of these herring lakes.
Yep.
So like do you learn a lot when you go to these different regions, and like what does that process look like? Like you're going to film content,
It
obviously, but then like what does that look like?
they it really seems like at the end of the day, a bass is a bass is a bass. They just learn to set up on a little bit different things on different bodies of water. You do have some intricacies kind of based on how the fish reacts based off their forage, but like it, it's at the end of the day, like it seems like a boss works in California, it works in Arizona, it works in Georgia, it works in Kansas, it works all the way up in Maine. Like it seems like there's just such a large part of the country that just they bite it. And it seems like wherever we go, we find a way to get them to bite it. So it's glide baits are a lot more diverse and they're a lot more effective than a lot of people give them credit for. Because the biggest thing, like even when we go down to Texas, I hear this at shows. So it's like, man, I wish I could see the fish that eat that thing. It's like, well, you're in Texas, like. Yeah, they're here.
They all do on every
to us, it
pond
makes
in
sense that they're
Texas.
there, but like,
Yeah.
to a lot of people, they're like, man, there's no way that they bite that there. Like, yeah.
It is crazy. Like you can get so closed-minded. Like your standard local Billy at the Tuesday nighter.
Yeah.
He's like, if you ain't throwing a green pumpkin Zoom trickworm, son, like they ain't gonna eat it.
Yeah.
But you know what that green pumpkin trickworm is? 7 inches. You know what a glide bait is? 7 inches.
Yeah.
It's the same size, different profile, different drawing
Yeah.
power, completely different technique. But they get intimidated by the size of a glide bait when, dude, you're not scared of an old monster. Why should you be scared of a 7, 8, 9 inch glide bait? Like
Yeah.
it is kind of crazy how they can, but it's also just like this urchin craze, like not to go back to it, but it's like people are like, I ain't ever throwing that cat toy or whatever, or
Yeah.
I ain't
Yeah.
never shaking no minnow. I'm gonna stick to my old jig or whatever. And it's
Yeah.
like that, if you're not willing to change and try new things, then you're not gonna grow. Whether it's fishing, whether it's sports, fitness, whatever industry you're in, if you're not willing to change and try to grow, you're gonna be stuck in your old ways and things are always gonna be the same. Your outcome's gonna be the same, if not worse, if you're not willing to go. That's why like you can't just go pull up to a point on Lake Lanier and fan cast and catch them anymore,
Yeah.
because you used to, and then they saw it, and then they got educated and they got better. And every time you pulled a 20 fish school, they learned. Like you
Yep.
caught one, and the other 19 learned, and you caught two, and the rest of the fish learned. So it's
Yeah.
like, in order to adjust and keep up, I feel like you have to be willing to change. And then also thinking about like on your lakes, what is the average community whole angler fishing, and how
Yeah.
can you be different? Like how do
Yep.
you like guys with when LiveScope came out, they're like, oh, you can throw a glide on for any fish that's high in the water column, but it's like then guys started adding weight to them and figure out how to target those fish that aren't just on the surface.
Yep.
So talk to me a little bit about lead wire and
Hmm.
how it affects the action of some baits. Like what are some tips? Like you're trying to get a glide to run right for offshore scoping, something like that, to where you're trying to sink it down a little bit. How are you going through the testing phase to get the bait to work how you want it to?
Yeah. So, yes, sinking down glide baits. A lot of people are doing it now. It's very, very effective. To out of the box, a glide bait's going to be a very slow sink. And you don't want to cast, like if you're trying to fish for a fish in 20 foot of water, you don't want to cast it out there and wait like 30 seconds for it to sink and then get in the right area. And also, it's gonna be so like light that the second you start working it, it's just gonna come straight up. So adding weight to the front treble hook first, do like a 8 inches of lead wire up front. I think it's like 0.03 or something like that. Um, Add about 8 inches up front, 6 inches in the back, and then put it in the water, see if that's the desired rate of fall. Throw it out there, give it a couple hard twitches. If it starts to do, like if the nose kind of goes down, you need to add a little bit of weight on the tail to pull it up. And if the bait starts like flopping real bad like that, it means you've got too much weight on the tail. There's too much drag on it. You need to either take some off or put a little bit more up front.
Gotcha. That's a pretty quick rule of thumb of weight in a glide bait. And so I've seen you take them apart before
Yeah.
and try to tune them. Talk to me about that a little bit.
Yeah. So take all of our baits. I mean, even back to the day, had a pin exposed on the top, and you can pull that pin out with a pair of metal side dikes, and it gives you access to the 2 screw eyes in there. If you screw those in, the action of the bait is going to be a lot wider, smoother. If you back those out, it's going to be a lot choppier and more walk on itself. So it's kind of how you control the overall action of the bait and kind of fine tune it for how those fish are wanting it. Because sometimes they do want a wide, smooth glide bait, and then other times they want it really, really quick, aggressive, and snappy. So it's just kind of figuring that out.
I like it. I like it. That's pretty simple, and something people don't think of is like being able to take that apart and actually adjust how that bait works.
Yeah.
Like they just take it out of the box and throw it the way it is, but I mean, you got to think that big bait slapping the water all the time, things can move around a little bit,
Yeah.
things can get loose and all that stuff.
You start boat flipping six pounders by the back hook, it kind of
Yeah,
it's a lot of torsion
it'll
on that
change.
joint.
Yeah, for sure. Jeff said the open system stiffs competition. Hats off to signing up and competing against those hammers.
They're good.
He said, folks, look at my deck with 5 9-inch glides rigged up and think I'm crazy. Yeah, that happens to me too. It's funny. My darter has a broken tail, the fiber. Can I send it in to get the fiber tail replaced?
Yeah, absolutely. Send us a message on Instagram, and we'll get you taken care of.
So that's at Clutch Swimbait Co. Right?
Yep.
Is there underscores in there? Clutch underscore Swimbait underscore Co. I believe.
Check.
I think that's it.
Yeah, I mean, if you just type in Clutch Swimbait Co. on Instagram, you'll find
it'll come up.
Yeah, it's underscores in between the words.
Nice. Yeah. So just shoot him a message, Eddie. Thanks for checking in, and he'll get you taken care of. Mm-hmm. Jeff said 0.030 wire, and I think that's what I used too. And then he said, John said, Eddie, your doctor might need to see a doctor. That's funny. All right, let's see. What else can we get into tonight? What do y'all got for us in the comments? Keep us going.
Talk fishing, business, all that stuff.
All of it. So what's on the forefront for Clutch right now? Like where
a million things.
Yeah.
I think right now we've got like somewhere in the neighborhood of 11 to 14 prototypes in the works.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. Been busy. Some of them are getting really, really close. Some of them are aggravatingly far away, but they're getting there. There's some stuff I hope we have done by next year's Classic. There's some stuff that'll be released probably in mid-August.
That's exciting.
Yep. We're with us having 11 to 14 prototypes at one time. Like we've kind of only released like one new bait a year, and that's always generally been the second or third week of January. We're gonna have to start kind of doing a little bit more with that.
Nice.
Yeah, we've got the shop up to an area where it can kind of handle it. So you guys will get to throw some of the stuff I've been working on for quite a while. And it's really good stuff. It's just now it's finally starting to come to the surface.
So with the one that's been teased a lot,
yeah,
obviously the bolt.
Yep.
I just hit the fan again. Talk to me about this bait and kind of where we're at, because it's not out yet, right?
Yeah, and it's not out yet. We're probably looking at a January-ish release on that. It's just not done yet. It's like every time I get it close to being right, I'll throw it and I'll be like, man, I really don't like that. And like, I'll go back to the drawing board and try to figure out how to fix it. Like, it's been like every once in a while there's a bait that's just such a pain to work on, and that's been the bolt. And the last one that I worked on that was a really, really true pain to work on was the baby boss. And I feel like that's some of our best work. So
yeah.
Once the bolt's right, it's going to be a really, really good bait that a lot of people are going to catch a lot of really big fish on. But I will not put it out until I think it's right, and it's just not right yet.
That's fair. And like the biggest thing is that you're willing to take that time and not just put it out with it being the way it is. Like obviously I'm catching fish on it. You and Brandon had an insane day, which I think we should get into talking about that day here in a little bit. But like that attention to detail and making sure it's 100% right. Like you see so many brands right now, like even not, we're talking urchin, obviously it's on everybody's brain, but like everybody went straight to copycat and not how do I make this better?
Yeah.
Nobody was worried about how do I make this urchin better. They said, let's make the exact same thing, make it with a different plastic to where it's cheap, affordable. We can make the mold and put it out.
Yeah.
But it's no different. It's no, like if
your business strategy is like, I think glide baits have really taught us this. It took them a while to get the glide baits right because there's a lot of different stuff that can go wrong there. The weighting has to be perfect. But if your business strategy is I'm going to be first tomorrow, or I'm going to try to get as many of them to market as fast as possible, and it happens to be just a direct knockoff of something that's really, really popular, you're not building a really big brand image. You may have a big cash inflection in terms of your business up front, but you're not building overall brand in which you're going to be able to build off of in the future. That's my take on it. We had the opportunity to be pretty early on in the forefront of urchins, didn't take it. And yeah, could I made a bunch of money doing that? Yeah, but then we would be like, it diminished the Clutch brand, which is we're going to take a ton of time to research and develop and figure out the best baits possible, rather than just like, oh yeah, here's this crazy stuff right here now that now everyone has. So that's not how we play the game. I'm willing to make less money and do more cool stuff with it and try to move the ball forward and do what I think is right for making the best baits possible, not just, hey, it's available.
Exactly. And I think that's what's important is being able to cater to your customers, stay true to your brand, and also make cool shit that actually works and catches fish. It's we talk about it with Hanks all the time. He's always like, I want people to catch their PB on our baits. Like I want people to actually like have that experience that makes a lifetime, and you're a part of that story now.
Yeah.
So like if you boat flip it on an Alpha Angler Honcho, Alpha's a part of that story.
Yeah.
If you catch it on a Clutch Boss, Clutch is a part of that story. If you catch them on a Cast OG or on some Cast Braid or whatever, they're part of that story. So it's like all these brands are part of experiences that our customers are going through. And so like, and then if you talk about it on the brag board in Fish North Georgia, then you're a part of that community. And like, that's what we all want. We all want to be a part of this community. We all have our own teams. That's why every angler has their own sponsors that they represent, and they're on this team and this team and this team. But we want to see what the stories get told through each team and who is associated with who. And like, it just, we all web and network together, but it is pretty cool. So, I enjoy it. Let's how many glide baits do you have out currently?
In front of me, basically none.
Like your line.
How many do I
your
have out?
line, yes.
Let's see. OG, Darter, Boss, Baby Boss, Micro, Eco. I think that's it. 6.
Okay.
Yes.
So walk me through. So we talked about the clutch or the Eco, the Baby Boss a little bit. We talked about the Boss. Tell me more about the others. So like the Darter.
Yeah,
Micro.
Darter's a big one, especially for you guys out there in herring country. It's a herring profile, very, very thin bait. Most other herring style glide baits are really thick, and a herring doesn't look like that. But it moves really, really fast, very snappy, very aggressive. It's not a burning bait. It's a real quick, aggressive chopping bait. Ton of money been won on it out there. It seems like when they're on a glide bait on those herring lakes, that is the bait to have. And it went through the design process like crazy, figuring out how to manipulate the drag on the tail to get it just right, where it still kicks out far, but it's less enough of a drag that you don't want too much drag, you don't want too little drag. We had to toe that line like crazy in order to get that thing to work.
And that was a huge bait for Clutch, like because I feel like when Bassmaster Elite Series on Lake Murray, that thing really got exposed, and you had some big guys. Patrick Walters
somewhere back there. Brandon throwing it on, I think it's Lay Lake or something like that. That was the first time it was like, well, the second time it was on camera, and I think Brandon lost like the winning fish on the Darter that day. He was fishing for fry garters with it and got it to nip and went to boat flip and it came off. But yeah,
I've watched Brandon skip a Darter up under a dock a couple of times, and I was like, "You're crazy," but he was good at it, and I'm too scared to do that.
Yeah, the only bait I haven't really got to skip too much is probably the Boss. Like baby bosses skip well, or not well, but they skip. You get a couple out of them.
But what conditions are best to throw the glide? Are they effective during the summer with these high water temps, or what's your ideal conditions?
For Georgia area, I don't want to lead anyone wrong. I can only kind of talk about this area. I don't have a lot.
Talk about where you're at.
Yeah. Best conditions to throw it. Post spawn like this, I like big poofy clouds, a little bit of wind, water clarity about 2 to 3 foot. That's kind of, if pressure's falling, it's great as well. Or lots of current. Like if you've got current, that glide bait bite's going to be way, way better.
Nice.
Yep.
I think that's good. And the problem is we've got 20-foot viz over here. So it's like
yeah.
So when you're in a clear body of water, what are you changing? Are you changing your line size at all? Are you changing colors of baits? Like, so you pull up to a clear body of water like Lake Lanier where you got 15, 17 foot of viz. What's changing for you?
Yeah, clarity, I will switch up color. Something matte is really good, like a matte finish on it. That can help. Or something really, really dark, like a shadow shad bait where it's on like a black resin background. It's just an overall really dark bait. I really like that and that kind of clarity. Or something with really silvery belly, which I guess I'm probably not telling you herring guys anything new there. But like something that's got a lot of silver, a lot of flash on it. Seems to do really well in terms of glide baits in that really clear water.
Nice. Eddie said, love the Darter. John G says, is the best color for a Darter bone also. He's also fishing Sinclair, which is a little bit more dingy. So I would say definitely bone is a good color, but what's a color that you make that would be best for clear water? You said
clear water, probably Ace. We've got a color called Ace, or what is it? I'm brain farting on the name right now. Blueback herring olive, I think is.
Okay.
I think that's what it is. It's a mouthful.
Olive blueback really or something like that.
Yeah, olive blueback chrome. Yeah. Sorry, that's nice. It's a mouthful of a color name. We probably should call it that, but Here we are.
You're good. You're good. This is pretty cool. Eddie was a marshal with G-Man this year on Murray. Watched him catch his largest bass day one with a darter.
Nice.
That's pretty cool.
Hell yeah.
Skip them all you want. They sell them all over the place. That is true. That is true.
It does help the Clutch crew out.
Yep. Bronze back and olive blue back, Kimball said.
Yeah, he would know better than me.
Scott says, they eat the glide year-round. I can sympathize with the guy that shows up with nothing on the deck but glide baits, and the baby boss will skip great. Can confirm. Glide or die. Heck yeah, Scott. I like it. And the glide is so fun. It's just a fun bait to fish because you're the anticipation is higher. Whether if you're dragging a shaky head, you're expecting to catch a 12-incher, 3-pounder, maybe a 4-pounder. That's about it. But like with a glide, you're literally, and I feel like what made it so big, especially before scope, was like that was your way to target the biggest fish in the lake.
100%.
And it still is one of the best ways to do that. But like with live scope, you're always able to target the biggest fish in the lake. But with a glide, it definitely like just the sheer drawing power. Big fish eat big baits. Like it's a pretty cool just bait to fish in general, I feel like.
Yeah.
And it's fun because you're just waiting to get that big bite. What's walk me through one of your best days of glide bait fishing?
Might as well talk about the Polnick experience. That was pretty cool. It was in Brandon's words at the time, it was the best glide bait day I've had on this lake, which was his home body of water I've ever had. So I think he's caught more weight. He's caught more weight, but I don't think as many quality fish as we caught that day. What we probably caught 50 on a glide somewhere in there. It was crazy day. But it was just one of those days from the very word go in the morning. It was just nonstop, just insane. They didn't turn off of it. Every single fish just flew after it and just destroyed it.
And it was just, it was large. So where were we? What were we doing? Give me what was the weather like?
Yeah.
Walk me through it.
It was fall. Wasn't it October?
Yeah, it was last October.
Yeah, it was in October. Pretty cool air. Bunch of like, there's some clouds. I remember there's been a lot of like fog in the morning. Super light wind, and it just, I think it was more so like up in Idaho in October, fish are putting on the fall feed bag, and they just were silly on it.
I think it was like post frontal or pre frontal because didn't it rain like that that night before?
It did rain the night before for sure. Because I remember us trying to back in the campers and everything, and just like a straight downpour.
It was pouring.
Yeah.
And it was just from the beginning. I mean, Brandon's like, oh, it got one on it and it missed it. And then he loses it, it bites, and then catches a 5-pound largemouth. And then it was just on.
Yeah. Bila popped up in the chat. Table Rock Day prototyping the boss was also an insane day. Yes, it was. We didn't put, so this was the crazy thing about that day. For those of you guys that don't know, Brock Bila, he's leading opens points right now.
Heck yeah, congrats, Brock.
Employee for Clutch, my best friend, like, dude's insane with a glide. He's thrown the boss longer than anyone else. Like, he was literally the second person to ever throw a boss. But yeah, this was right after I took Clutch full time. Darter was out, OG was out, and just kind of got the first iteration. This was the master for it. That was literally the master for that bait for that day. It's changed a lot since then, but that was it. So took Clutch full time. We were like, hey, let's jump out on Table Rock for a little bit. It was after a big bass bash where did horrible, but like ran down to Table Rock, just fishing, having fun, seeing if this new bait will work. And we ended up like doing a bunch of filming stuff, doing some drone stuff, and the fish that we saw come up and hit this bait shouldn't exist on Table Rock. It was like we ran into just a flat that had so many big fish on it. It was crazy. Like literally like 8 to 10 pound class fish on table rock. And we
Jeez.
didn't hook a single one of them, but we got drone pictures of it. Like we
Yeah.
scaled it out where it's like, all right, the boss is this long. You kind of take that, you mark it, and you kind of rotate it around to the fish and see how long that fish was. And just massive fish. There was a couple that bit right next to the boat, just like it. I don't know what we could have had, but that is the reason why the boss has rotating hook hangers, because that we lost so many fish that day because we didn't have rotating hook hangers on the bait. Once we put those on there, we caught a lot more fish, and we don't really lose a lot of fish on a boss. But that day, it was not good.
So talk to me about a swiveling hook hanger. What does that do for a glide bait?
Yeah. Let me just grab one of these. I think I should work. Yeah, we'll roll with it. So swiveling hook hanger, it just allows that hook to freely rotate.
Sorry, hang on.
And never hit like a stopping point. So like if that hook hanger didn't rotate, it just like it rotate until it stopped, and then that once that hook keeps trying to rotate past that point, it just rips free of the fish. So a rotating hook hanger is just eliminates a point of leverage where that fish can just come up and throw it. But yeah,
nice.
probably should have grabbed that bait. Got some sneaky stuffing off of that.
You're good. I messed this up here. Hang on. I can't see. I can only see the vertical. Hang on. I messed
It looks
up.
like we're back now, at least from my perspective.
I accidentally clicked like hide something.
Oh, you hit hid or hid hide?
I had hid.
I had hid.
Portrait. Hang on. Landscape. There we go. Okay. All right. That now we're zoomed in.
Now we're close up. Close up.
Oh well, that'll work. All right. Sorry. Sorry. A little technical difficulties. Farmers out there in the chat, hour late. What's up? What's up, farmer? Jeff Brazil said, I'm down to my last boss. Greenback gizzard. Looks like I drug it behind the truck, but it stays on the deck and still produces.
Absolutely. And we will have more bosses available next week, too. We haven't had any for a while. We've got a bunch of them coming. So I think it'll probably be Thursday at what? That'd be 5:30 p.m. your time in Georgia.
Yep. Yeah, because you normally do drops at 4:30 Central, right?
Yep.
And make sure that you guys sign up for the drop list. How do they get signed up for the drop list? Because that helps me out.
Yeah, go to clutchswimbait.co.com. And it's towards the top of the page. There is sign up for the email blast. And you'll get emails, text notifications every time we do a drop. Just kind of let you stay at the front of the information there. And it allows you to be notified.
Yeah. And it's not like you're getting a million texts every other day. Like I have so many that I just get so annoyed, and I still don't cancel them because I don't know why, but like, no, it's only important stuff when it's like, hey, there's a drop coming. Like it's stuff that you need to know on a need to know basis, especially if you're a glide bait guy. And it's good to let your buddies know too, because you might not be a glide bait guy, but your buddy might be like, yo, dude, bosses go live next Thursday. Don't forget to buy one. Like, because it is limited. Like I feel like the swim bait game is where limited drops really became prevalent of like creating that demand because you could only make so many baits, right? Like I think with swim baits, it was like you're pouring them out of resin and making them in your garage or whatever. There's only so many of them. Like what is a limited drop? Like how has that really changed in our industry? I feel like that's become a lot more popular and a lot more companies are doing.
Yeah, it's become more popular outside of it. At the end of the day, like I don't really like the limited drop stuff too much. Like if someone wants to be able to get a bait, I want them to be able to get a bait. I hate playing the scarcity thing, but at the end of the day, we can only make so many baits at one time. That's honest truth. There is like we have so many people working on them. We can only make so many baits, and once they're gone, they're gone. But yeah, the scarcity thing is something that drives sales for companies a lot, for sure. And I mean, I honestly think the the best drops are the ones that the people are truly not doing it because they're trying to drive scarcity. Like you look at this Koike thing, is like, man, I'm pretty sure if Hide Up wanted to, like, I'm pretty sure they'd rather not have knockoffs out there. I'm pretty sure they'd just rather sell all their stuff. But there's certain constraints that are not allowing them to produce as many as demand would like. So
yeah, and it makes it tough. Like, I mean, you want the original. A lot of times, like the imitations are not what you want, but it's what you can get, so you'll buy it anyway.
Yep.
And like with glides, I feel like guys are more apt to buy what they actually want instead of being willing to buy a knockoff, because there is such a difference between a $30 glide and one that's 150, 175, 200, like in that range, because you're paying for the quality most of the time, or there's so much that goes into it that make, like, that's why they're so expensive.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, go ahead, you can take a break.
Okay, cool. I'll be right back.
Yep, you're good. We'll check out the chat. Jeff Brazil said my wife would remove me from drop notifications if she could. Yeah, just don't tell her that it even exists. Purrs out there in the chat. Hey, Alex, I need to get my brakes done, and I fly out Thursday morning, so it's probably not going to happen. I don't know when I can get my car over there to make sense. I was going to Uber to the airport, so hit me up later, and we'll try to. Alex Purrs open for some side work. As far as mechanicking around, he did my girlfriend's brakes last week, and then working on doing mine. And I just can't keep it easy for the poor guy, because he was like, "Oh, well, these parts didn't come in. This sensor's not working. Blah blah blah. All this fun stuff." Shout out to Alex Purrs for dealing with my car troubles. Oh, car troubles. Shout out to Scott Hall from tire discounters over off of Wade Green. He said he's watches the show. So I am taking my car. I got a little beater, the old Malibins, and I'm going through the storage unit on Sunday. Like, I had to clean my house all day, whatever. I'm going through the storage unit, and all of a sudden I hear I'm like driving through the parking lot about to leave. I hear some metal like going thump, thump, thump in my tire, and I'm like, oh no. Get out of the car, check, and there's like some piece of probably some bed frame or piece of furniture or whatever is in my tire. So then I'm like, well, crap, let me see if I can pull this piece of metal out. I pull some of it out, but some of it is like stamped into my tire. I'm like, okay, I'm definitely at risk for getting a flat here. Like, I've got a big chunk of metal in my tire. So this is Sunday. And so I'm like, okay, well, let's see if it like loses any air. I drive home, get there, wake up the next morning, didn't lose any air. And I was like, okay, I have to get this fixed today. Like, this is Monday morning, got to get it fixed. But like, I was in a rush, went to the gym on the way to work, and I was like, okay, I'll get it taken care of. Probably going to go do it on my lunch break. And then things got busy, and I was like, okay, I have to go do this on my lunch break, or else like I'm not going to get it done. Go in, tire discounters off Wade Green. And the guy's like, man, you could probably just patch that or whatever. He was like, it should be fine. Like, we can take a look at it and patch it. And I was like, nah, I need a new tire. Like, if it got this big chunk of metal in it, want a new tire, right? And he's like, nah, it'll probably be fine. Like, it'll be good. Like, we can just patch it up. And I was like, nah, just give me a new tire. Not a big deal. He's like, all right, whatever you say. Customer's always right, I think is what the guy said. And I was like, all right. So I go sit in the waiting room. I'm chilling. And then I hear like a loud noise come from in there. Don't think anything of it. I'm like, tire shop, loud noises happen all the time. Dude comes busting through the door, and he's like, man, he's like, you won't believe this. And I was like, what happened? And he's like, your tire just blew going into the bay. So they pulled my car into the bay. He's like, I can't think of a better place for you to blow a tire than in the bay of the tire shop. So my tire blew going into the bay, and I got a new tire that took care of me. So shout out to those guys over there. But he was like, I bet you're going to talk about this on the Fish North Georgia show. So that one's for you. We're out here. All right. now that Josh is back, we'll get back into the questions. On average, how long does it take from bait design to bring it to market?
Depends so much on the bait. I'm trying to think of the one that we spent the least amount of time on. Like the least amount of time, probably 5-6 months. Baby Boss was probably 2 years. Eco was probably 6 to 8 months. Micro was probably 6. But like the micro was like the getting it to swim wasn't the problem. The problem was the paint process. Figuring that out and getting that dialed in. That was the most, because anytime you create a new process completely, it's just there's a lot to it. But yeah, it's basically for those of you guys that don't follow too much on the clutch side of stuff. On the Micro Boss, typically small baits like that, so it's 5.5 inches long, small little guy. When you add traditional paint and clear coat to a bait, generally it affects the action in a negative way. It's going to make it a little bit more tippy. It's basically adding too much weight too high on the bait. So we tried to eliminate paint and clear coat. So we developed this really high detail resin film that gets sucked down into our molds. And because the film is made of resin, when we pour resin on top of it, it chemically bonds to it, making that film, which has the paint on it, part of the actual physical bait. So it's completely baked into the material. It's really cool paint schemes, but it's actually physically part of the bait. So it's never going to like flake and chip on you. But that process took a long time. And if I don't like getting in too deep to it, just because it is kind of our big secret.
That's your intellectual property.
Yeah. And it's one of those things where it's like, yeah, I was told by a guy that we probably could have pursued a patent on it, but at the same time, the time it would have took to do all that stuff, it's like, man, I really don't think my competitors are going to figure this out. And it's a very, very expensive process to figure out. So we're just going to kind of live with it as is and just keep trying to push the ball forward and figure new stuff out rather than just throw a patent on it. So
exactly. And it is pretty cool, like how you've come across that. And then, I mean, for the durability, it makes it huge. And then, so like, speaking of materials, so why would you buy a resin glide over like an ABS? Like you see a lot of these guys that have like a resin and they go ABS with a big company. Like what's kind of the difference in the glide baits?
My view on this has changed throughout the years. I used to think that it was because resin was more buoyant. It's not really the case. ABS is actually more buoyant. It is more solid throughout, but in the terms of like what momentum is, which is mass times velocity, and if you're looking at it from that perspective, as well as the buoyant side, plastic should be better, but it's not. And I think it all boils down to people don't think that an ABS bait can perform like a resin bait because there's never been one that has. There's never been one that's gone from resin to ABS and gotten better. And I think it's got to do a lot of the prototyping process with China is very arduous. It's very long, very drawn out, and they don't quite know how to speak the bait builder's language. Like a bait builder, there's so many little intricacies, and like everyone's just a little bit different in how they go about like their weighting process of a bait. And China only kind of knows that one way. So explaining to them like, no, this weight needs to be shifted 2 millimeters forward because it's going to make the head do this, which is going to make the tail do that, which is going to make the swim affect like this way. Like it takes so many revisions, and each revision takes like 4 to 5 weeks plus if you're in the busy season. It just takes so much time, and all these companies are like, man, we've got so much invested in this, we've got so much time invested into it, we just need to get it out. And I think that part right there is the reason why ABS is worse than resin. It's because the prototyping process, and I mean, on a resin bait, I can control the variables really, really easy on that. Like I can have a new prototype of the bluegill I'm working on tomorrow. Like I can have it turned around that fast. And as opposed to the ABS where it's taking 5, 6+ weeks to be able to do it. So I truly think that, like, I used to think that resin was a superior material to make a bait out of. Now I'm skeptical about that, and I think that ABS can do better. It's just no one takes the time to actually be able to do it.
And I think with that process, it makes sense because like I know we've gone through it with Cast of like trying to talk with the factory and go back and forth, and it's like we're not getting a sample mold for 2 months, and then we get a sample in and it's not right,
Yep.
and then we go back and forth, like whether even on our worms, like with the Nova worm and trying to get everything right with that, it's like okay, this isn't it, or they'll do this and it'll be like, hey, add this flake, and then this flake is messed up, and then you wait 2 more months and this, and so I feel like with that process slowing things down, you have these big companies that are like, hey, let's replicate this resin bait and do this, but then they get after so many revisions, they're like, all right, we got to put this thing out, whether
Yeah.
it's 100% right. Like same thing with the bolt. The bolt is like, in my opinion, freaking dialed, but it's not perfect for you
Yeah.
yet, right? Like I'll still catch fish on it,
Oh yeah.
and like it'll still catch fish, but you want it to be to that level.
Yeah.
So
And I
I feel
think
like, go ahead.
this is the biggest takeaway for anyone out there that's a bait maker. And it's really hard to get to this point. It's like, just because you made it and just because it catches a bass does not mean it's done. Does not mean it's good. And I've had some buddies that run companies that they think just because they make something and they caught a bass on it means it's the greatest thing that's ever come out. And you kind of have to humble yourself from time to time and look at it and be like, all right, this isn't great. Yeah, I caught a bass on it. I may have caught a 7-8 pounder on it. I may have caught a giant on it, but it's still not right. It's still not catching a bass the best it possibly can. So I think that's a big thing that a lot of people get tied up in.
And that's what makes staples ultimately. Like you have like back in the original glide bait days, like the certain ones that everybody threw, like the Depths
Yeah.
250 and Roman Made Mother and all these like staples, because like those were right, but you also had a lot of wrongs that were out there in the
Yeah,
market too.
for sure.
And so like the ones that stick around and stay, like obviously the Sakamoto shad is going to stick around and still play. It's not as dominant as it was, just like the A-rig isn't as dominant as it
Yeah.
was. But a Senko sure as hell is still pretty dominant these
Yep.
days. Like everybody kind of still has one on deck. So it's like, how do you, and I think that's where you're going above and beyond and making sure everything's 100% right, because you want to see a darter on somebody's deck in 10 years. You don't want it to be a thing of the past, you know?
Yep.
But let's see what Kimmy said. Bolt is a big bass snatcher. Bolt's also a great example of how Josh refuses to settle. Yeah, exactly. Like we're coming up on a year of you playing around with that thing, and then still trying to get it right.
Yep. And then there's the bluegill that didn't take near the time, and it is like really, really good, and really, really dialed. It's like some baits just come easier to you, and that the bluegill was definitely one of those for me, and the bolt is not. So bluegill's basically done. Bolt isn't. We're gonna come out with bluegill first.
I like it. Hey, that's how it goes.
A little teasing for you guys.
Yeah, I like it. What's one piece of business advice you could give to any entrepreneur out there in the chat, like somebody that's about to go chase a dream, quit their corporate job and go chase a dream? What's a piece of advice you would have for them?
It always there's two places my mind went. One, never like make a really, really good product or have a really, really good service. The other one would be it's what Hormozzi talks about all the time. It's do so much volume that it negates luck. Like do something so many times and get so good at something that it's impossible for you to just get lucky once. It's like, yeah, the the original glide that we came out with, like the OG, it like we might have got a little lucky on it from some perspective, but now like I've done so much volume. Clutch has made so many baits. Like my team's dialed that in to it that when we come out with a new bait, it's going to be dialed. It's like we've done so much volume that it's negated that bait's a lucky bait. It's going to be good. Why? We've done it a ton of times.
Makes sense. And it's whether you're cutting hair, filming videos, whatever it is, the more you learn, make, and repeat of whatever you're learn, making, and repeating, like that's ultimately going to lead you to success. But like,
the more you edit video, the better video editor you're going to be.
Exactly. And if you're working the 9 to 5 and you're like, okay, I'm going to quit this tomorrow without ever doing any video editing or whatever you're about to jump into, like you got to have your 5 to 9 after your 9 to 5. Like you got to start grinding on that while you're still doing both. And like, and then you can finally make the leap once you have the volume there. But like, obviously don't make the jump until you physically can't do both anymore. And that one's.
Yeah. And I guess a point to that is keep your 9 to 5 until you feel like, well, because the thing is, like, once you quit your 9 to 5 and you start taking your side hustle like full time, you're gonna have gas get thrown on the fire. Like, you're going to exponentially grow your business, especially in the first couple weeks of you having your sole focus on it. Because you're not just gonna all of a sudden switch from a 9 to 5 plus a 5 to 9, and just all of a sudden go like drop the 5 to 9 and just do 9 to 5. You're gonna end up working 9 to 9. And when you do that, you have that much focus and effort on that thing solely, you're going to have a lot more growth than you had when you were just doing 5 to 9. So if it doesn't seem too plausible when you're just doing a 5 to 9 after a 9 to 5, it's still possible. It's just you've got to take the risk at that point.
Yeah. You have to be willing to take that risk, but also be smart about it, because like when I was freelancing, I bit off way more than I could chew. I took on way too many clients and I drove myself into the ground. And burnout was real. Couldn't keep up, couldn't keep promises. Like, very easy to do that too. So it's like you can fail just as easy, but like nothing good ever comes without failing. And it's like, if I didn't fail all those times, that I wouldn't get to where I am today. And like, I could easily fail tomorrow and have to fail a lot more to get to where I'm going to be in the next 5 years. And that's fine. But like, if I'm sitting here scared of it and just stay in the same, that's one thing that's changed from being like freelancing and being an entrepreneur and trying to do it all on my own to backing off and going to this corporate 9 to 5 for the past 2 years. Like, it's two completely different lifestyles. It's two completely different mindsets. And I kept trying to make the 9 to 5 a freelance type gig, and it was not that. And like, and you learn how to navigate that, how to ultimately like get through it. But then at the same time, like, I'm still thinking about my 5 to 9. I'm still trying to think of like, how can I still work with these other companies and still keep my brand? Like, it's been 2 years I haven't been at ICAST in the past 2 years of being corporate because Yamaha doesn't go. And so it's like, I feel like I've got the FOMO because I'm not down there making connections, trying to do that. And so maybe I'll get to go this year. Who knows? I've had the hotel room booked, but I mean, who knows? That's a whole nother story. But like, at the same time, you have to be willing to see both sides of the coin, and then also be willing to take the risk when it's time to take the risk. Right now, it's not time for me to take the risk and go to freelance. Like, I don't want to do that.
It's scary, for sure. Like, I mean, it sounds crazy, I'm sure, coming from my perspective, or coming from what Clutch has become. But like, I mean, for the longest time, I was worried that everyone was going to stop buying glide baits tomorrow. It's like I'd have to go back to work or like a normal job. Like, yeah, there was definitely something for the longest time in me that was like, this is all going away tomorrow. It's like literally everything's going to be up in flames. I've since calmed down a lot, but there was a long time, like good solid couple years stretch there where like it was, I worked really, really hard because I thought it was all going away.
So you're coming up on 5 years.
Yep.
What would you tell Josh from 5 years ago? What piece of advice would you give Josh from 5 years ago?
Gut instinct is slow down and enjoy it more. But I also know that as hard as I worked is part of the reason why we got here. I guess
Man, it is hard because it's like if you didn't
really tough one.
push that hard,
yeah,
then you wouldn't be where you are.
Yeah, 100%.
But you also want to enjoy it too.
Yeah, that's the kicker there, where it's like, yeah, you can say slow down and enjoy it all you want, but would we be here if I did? An honest answer is probably not. I guess probably the thing I'd tell myself is lean into the risk a bit more. Even to this day, I'm pretty risk averse. And back then I was really, really risk averse. So probably just lean into what scares you a little bit more. Even if you fail, you're probably not going to end up on the streets. So try risk a little bit more, put a little bit more risk into it.
I like it. So 5 years from now, where do you see Clutch going?
Mega Bass / 6 cents / Rapala level.
I like it.
Dream big, I guess.
Awesome. Yeah. That'd be pretty awesome.
Yeah.
What do you think a booth, like, are you thinking like booth being huge, like those, like being able to have all of the products out? Like, what does it look like? What does it look like being a Mega Bass, a Rapala?
A lot more different variety of product on the shelves. The reason why I say Mega Bass so much is because they have a lot of baits that hit. And some of the other ones that I've talked to have come out with their fair share of misses. And that's kind of the ultimate goal, is come out with as many baits that hit as possible and are really, really, really good baits. Like when you think of that category of bait, you're thinking of a Clutch. So that's kind of the overall goal. It takes a lot of work to get to that point, and it requires me to really, really focus on prototyping a lot. Hence the reason why we've expanded so much. Like our sales manager's been on the chat. Our marketing / brand manager has been on the chat. Like we are growing different avenues of the business in order to be able to allow me to work on prototyping more. So that way we're working towards that bigger goal. So that's kind of what we're looking at right now. And then I can't forget about the production manager, Billy. Good Lord. He keeps the wheels on the bus and makes sure that the shop is not falling apart and baits are still being made to the highest of qualities. So it wouldn't be possible without Billy. So
what does that quality control look like? How do you make sure that the baits going out the door are still just as good as the ones that you have eyes on and the ones you don't have eyes on?
Yeah. So every bait gets swim tested by me still. I swim every bait that goes out the door. Does not mean I won't miss one from time to time, where it's like the test tank's only 30 or not even 30 foot long, like 25 foot long. It's really hard to tell certain baits. Like if after one or two casts in there, like if it's doing one thing that I don't like there's a couple different, there's a couple weaknesses in there. There's a couple shortcomings that I cannot visually see all the time in that test tanks, but me swim testing every one of them is a big step in the direction for quality control. The other side is again, Billy's watching everyone like a hawk, making sure that there's not a lot of screw ups happening. And then the other one is paint. We've outsourced almost all of our paint, like the traditional paint and clear coat process. Garrett's Customs does a lot of it, and Garrett's stuff is the most durable there is, period. No question about it. Like his stuff, like you will throw it for days and days and days and it still looks brand new. So he's way better at that than we are. So we're going to use him for that, basically.
Nice. I like it. Jerry said, impressive to hear Clutch will not push a bait through just to make a buck, focused on quality. And like you've been that way since the beginning. And if you weren't making glide baits, you've always acted that way about anything in fishing, business, all that stuff. Like you want to improve. And I think that's what's made you so successful is like you're not willing to settle.
Yep. I'm not willing to just come out with something because that's what's popular right now.
Exactly. I'm a soft tail junkie. Why do you prefer the brush tail on your swim baits?
So for me, I think the soft tail adds an extra element of drag on the bait that I don't like. If I'm going to add drag to a bait, I want to do it in a different way. And in my opinion, that other way allows for an overall better performance of the bait. It's going to get wider. It's going to be snappier. The rubber tail, soft tail just adds a little bit too much extra drag on it. In my opinion, if they used a different tail style, their bait would perform better. They may have to do some modifications to the overall build aspect of it, but in my experience, if you're using a rubber tail, you're able to modify the bait in a different way in order for it to perform even better if it did not have, like, if it had a more brushy style tail. So in my opinion, the brushy tail is going to swim way better. Like you put a you put a rubber tail on a boss, make those adjustments in the other way, it's going to be a much worse bait than if we had the boss with the adjustments and a brush tail. It's my experience. My experience. You asked someone else, and they're going to say I'm crazy, but it's got a lot to do with the drag. Like I do not want that much drag that far back on the bait. It's just you lose so much distance.
Gotcha. And then like that's the thing is like you have some glides you're trying to get a big S kick, and then the other ones like you want them to move as little as possible. Like you want them to almost walk in place like a topwater bait.
And there's different ways to be able to like in my I fully believe that I can get a bait to do both, which is why we leave the pin exposed on the back, is because doing adjustments with that joint, I can get that bait to literally walk on itself, or I can, with a different adjustment, I can make that bait swim wide and smooth. It just kind of all depends on what I'm trying to do, and I feel like I can adjust the bait to do that.
Gotcha. We've covered a lot.
We've covered a lot of ground.
I know I've had you.
We've got into some swim bait theory. We got into some business stuff. It's good.
All over the place. Do you believe in Bigfoot?
I did. Not as much anymore. I like the idea of Bigfoot more than I believe in him.
That's fair.
Like I want to believe it's out there.
What made you
they are out there? Getting older and losing my sense of curiosity for the world.
That's fair.
Getting older.
All right. What about aliens?
I've always been less of an alien guy. Which is kind of funny because like I want Bigfoot to be true. Don't think he's out there. I don't want aliens to be true and think they're probably out there.
Yeah, that's a pretty good way to look at it. I feel like they're different.
Real aliens are much scarier than a real Bigfoot.
Oh, for sure. Like I can handle Squatch.
Well, yeah. Like, oh, cool. I will just move over here and go nowhere near that area again. Got it.
Yeah, but some intelligent being that probably could harm me in some way. Like we're definitely not the smartest beings out there.
Yeah, or just kidnap me and take me to another planet. I'm good.
Yeah. And so I heard this theory the other day that I never thought, like we always think like, okay, the aliens are going to come from space, right? But like think about how deep our oceans are. Like what's to say they're not going to come from the bottom of the ocean? That they haven't been like hanging out down there. If like there's like a whole, like you look at those like fish that like the anglerfish and all these things that are like deep and they look like aliens. Like,
Yeah.
imagine what's down there deeper and all that stuff. I don't know.
Or
It's
there's a
crazy.
fifth dimension that we don't even know about. Like
The
they're
center of the
there.
earth.
Yeah. They're
Yeah.
able to move through time or something. Like,
There's
yeah,
so many.
there's
Like
so
pyramids.
many possibilities.
Like the pyramids freak me out a little bit because it's like,
Oh,
what?
see, that's exciting. I like that stuff.
Because it's like, how did they have that tech? They didn't have that technology, or maybe they did, and then we got wiped back in
That's
time
what I
again.
think happened.
I
We
think
had some crazy technology. Because, like, if you look at some, I love this ancient stuff talk.
Yeah.
Like, if you look at some of the pottery, like like they did some carbon dating at the pottery and pyramids and stuff.
Yeah.
There was like really, really old pottery that was like so precise. Like it was down to the width of a human hair, like less than the width of a human hair. It was like super, super like intricate designs. And then all of a sudden they found some other pottery that was over here and they did the carbon dating on it. And they're like, oh, this stuff is like much newer. And they built it to try to look like the previous one. But the problem was it was all sorts of wonky and whopper jawed and everything.
Yeah.
Okay, well, something happened there where they tried to recreate the really nice looking stuff, but just came nowhere near close.
Couldn't do it.
Yeah. So like there's some signs there that something crazy happened, and yeah, like I like the theory that the pyramids were part of like an ancient power generation source where it's like the like because the pyramids like actually give off a tone like with nothing else acting on it, like just because of the geometry. Those pyramids make a noise. And it's like
crazy.
There's some other like theories out there that doing different vibrations and different noises in conjunction with that noise allows things to vibrate in different frequencies, making them easier to move and stuff like that. Like there's some crazy technology out there that we don't even like our brains can't even comprehend. It's because we went down this certain rabbit hole of like engineering and manufacturing where it's like, okay, the human population of today, we grew because of electricity and light bulbs and gasoline powered engines. And it's like, well, what if there was a whole other form of like technology that just made it like that would have sent us down a completely different path? And it's like,
yeah,
it's possible. Like who's to say that the only way to have power is through electricity?
Like, exactly.
We only do that because that's the path we took. Yeah.
Yeah. And it's like, who's to say that like this is how old this is and this is how old this is, and like we're naive if we think that we're the only things that have been living out here. You know, like it is pretty wild to think like when you think on such a massive scale and then just the earth is round and all like how everything is so symmetrical is crazy, and like how things are so dialed in and diverse and how things work. I don't know. It's crazy when you really get to thinking about it. Like, and we're all hung up on which glide bait to throw. And
yeah, will they ever buy a glide bait again?
Yeah, yeah, they do. Confirmed. Still eat a glide.
They do.
So on that note, they still eat a glide. You can buy urchins if you want, but glide bait fishing's pretty cool.
That was a great wraparound and a great bow to put on this thing.
Yeah, exactly.
We transitioned in like 2 minutes from ancient pyramids and ancient technology to bass eat a glide, not just Koike.
So. Not just a Koike. But dude, thanks so much for coming on and sharing your story.
Thanks for having me.
Story is huge. For me, like always being a creator, and I enjoyed your story from the beginning before I even knew you, and then being able to see the evolution and the work you put in, it's pretty awesome. And just thanks for being an awesome friend, a peer, entrepreneur, all that stuff, and being able to share your story with everybody over here at Fish North Georgia, and being willing to jump on. And then hang on, we got one more question out there from Jeff Brazil. Sorry, before we go to bed. Who's the pictures on the wall behind you? I see Brandon and maybe Hamner. Who else?
Yeah. So actually, before I show this, we are missing 5 or 6 pictures. It is not updated yet. I'll wait a second. Yeah, we're missing 5 to 6 pictures of guys that I just haven't got hung up on the wall yet, and I feel bad about that. But yeah, we'll start over here and work the other way. So So these are all top 10s in either Bassmaster or MLF. I think it's Toyota Series or higher. Laker Johnson with an Eco. Patrick on, I think that's Murray. Hamner on, I believe that's Wheeler. JT Tompkins on Harris Chain. Hamner at the Classic. Patrick at the Sabine. Let's see who else we got. Bobby Bakewell. I'm not sure where that was at. Patrick again. Can't remember where that's at. I should probably write this down. Let's see. Down here we got Hank Cherry on NPFL Championship. Drew Gill, I think at Heavy Hitters last year. Baby Boss. That's in Florida. David Brand. That was a Toyota Series. I'm blanking on the name. Logan Dyer. I believe that was Gunnersville, Toyota. Patrick on Murray again, a different Murray. Tyler Williams, Lake of the Ozarks. Hamner, Smith Lake, Trey McKinney, Harris Chain. Like I said, we're missing 5 or 6. Hamner in the top.
Angles up. There you go.
Hamner up top. That was him throwing a Boston Classic. Brandon on, I believe it's Lay Lake. That was the one that he almost won. And then on the far right over there, it's a Bass Times cover. That was when Pawnick won on Okeechobee. And in that fish's mouth is a boss. So we had to frame it and put it on the wall. And then the baits are just some cool relics of the past. But yeah, that's kind of the wall.
That's awesome.
Like I said, we're missing 5 or 6, but generally any Toyota Series opens or higher, we will print the picture off and put it on the wall, get a nice canvas up there. Currently missing 2 from Brock Bila, a Michael Harlan. I think there was a Patrick in there as well. Maybe a Hamner, a couple more, I think. So, yeah.
Nice. Thanks for the walkthrough. That's pretty badass wall.
Yeah,
cool,
we've been
stuff.
pretty lucky for sure.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Pretty lucky.
That's awesome. Well, all right, dude. I'm gonna let you get to bed. Thank you guys so much for tuning in. Go follow Josh on socials, Clutch Swimbait Co. Sign up for the drop list, especially because we got some cool new stuff coming out there. If you guys need to see any videos, ask any questions. I think it was Eddie out there. Make sure you shoot Josh a message there about the brush tail, something along those lines. Can't quite remember, but make sure you shoot him a message. And if you guys need anything, let us know. If you want to see videos of fish getting caught, go check them out on YouTube. Check out my page. I know I post a lot of fish getting caught on clutch baits. So thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you guys in the next one.
See you guys.